and gentlemen, boys and girls, leaders from all generations, good evening and welcome to the Rundown on Leadership. I'm your host, Ahmad Shaw Thompson, and I am honored, excited, and deeply grateful to be with you tonight. This is the place where leaders come to sharpen their thinking, challenge their assumptions, and become the very best version of themselves. And our mission each week is simple, yet it has never mattered more than it does right now: to elevate the leadership conversation locally, regionally, and globally, and to prepare you to lead with greater clarity, purpose, and impact. As always, we begin with gratitude. Thank you for welcoming us into your homes, your offices, and your leadership journey. Week after week, you remind us that leadership is more than a title. It is a responsibility. It's a discipline, and it is indeed a calling. And tonight, that calling gets very personal for every leader who has ever been responsible for people, because we are asking one bold, uncomfortable question tonight. In a world being shaped by artificial intelligence, who will champion the human beings behind the work? We know you could spend your Thursday evening anywhere in the world, but you choose to run it down with us, and for that, we are truly grateful. Now, I want to start tonight with a number that should stop every HR professional in their tracks. Last month, June, the head of one of the largest HR organizations in the world sat down with 92 CEOs, nearly a fifth of the Fortune 500, and asked them one simple question: how do you feel about HR? 10% said they love it, 60% said they tolerate it, and 30%, nearly 1 in 3, said they believe their company would be just fine without it. Sit with that. A third of the most powerful business leaders on the planet look at the people responsible for their people and quietly wonder if they need them at all. And it is already happening, ladies and gentlemen. Piece by piece, the work is being carried off. Compensation handed over to finance, the systems handed over to IT, employee relations handed over to legal, learning and development outsourced almost completely, organizational design handed over to strategy or operations. And now artificial intelligence is reaching for whatever is left. The function that was meant to build, to champion human beings is being quietly taken apart in rooms where its own name isn't even on the agenda. So, here is the uncomfortable question at the center of tonight's show. If everybody else can do the pieces, then what exactly is HR? When the spreadsheets get automated and the admin gets reassigned, what is left that's real? What is the thing that only HR can do? In other words, I want to know, will the real HR please stand up? Because here's the twist. That very same week, on that very same stage, Oprah Winfrey looked out at a room full of those same HR leaders and gave them an opposite message. She told them that you are not in the business of spreadsheets. You are in the business of human potential. She called them masters of human potential. So which is it? Are they the disposable department a third of CEOs could live without? Or the masters of human potential the entire future of work depends on? Both of those things were said in the same week to the same people in the same room, on the same stage. And tonight, we are going to settle it once and for all. I could not have had a better person in the chair to help me run it down tonight, because she was in that room. My guest tonight has served the HR profession for nearly 2 decades, and for more than a decade, she has served inside one of the most respected professional services firms in the world. She currently serves as Senior Manager of Human Capital at PwC Bahamas, and also serves as the President of SHRM Bahamas. And just weeks ago, she led a delegation of more than 40 Bahamian HR professionals to Global SHRM Conference, where she sat in the room for every single moment I just described. So if anyone can answer tonight's question, I am sure that it's Denise. I am honored to run it down tonight with President Denise Knowles. Tonight's conversation is one every HR professional or aspiring HR professional, every leader, every government official, shucks, even the pastor needs to hear. So you know what to do, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead, tag a leader, share this broadcast, invite someone into the conversation, because tonight we are asking, will the real HR please stand up? This is the Rundown on Leadership, ladies and gentlemen, and your breakthrough is right after this break. Stay close.
In a world where our health defines our future and the Caribbean stands on the front lines of climate change, rising NCDs and global challenges, knowledge becomes our greatest defense. Caribbean Medical TV is your guide on the journey to wellness and insight, featuring our region's own doctors, nurses, climate specialists and medical institutions. From physical well-being to the emotional and mental balance we all deserve. Caribbean Medical TV empowers you because building a healthier future isn't just a regional goal, it's a global responsibility. In the Caribbean, vitality isn't just a goal, it's a way of living. Connect with the region through knowledge, hope, and the power of Caribbean resilience on Caribbean Medical TV, where awareness becomes power. Join the conversation, join the movement. Be viewing Season 4 of Caribbean Medical TV right here on this station.
The tastiest thing about soccer is sharing it with the whole team, just like the new Ready for Soccer. A delicious lineup of 16 slices and 4 flavor sections. Perfect for sharing from start to finish, even beyond the 90 minutes. Get your team together and dig in, only at Little Caesars.
Pizza.
I don't know, but what kind of cars is this parking lot? You ain't even know where to park. Yeah, just don't park in the, look at this way. Like, you ain't get nowhere to go. Don't park, just don't park in the handicap spot.
Yeah, that's handicap.
No, man, you can't park in the handicap spot.
I ain't gonna be that long. I ain't gonna be that long.
Handicap spot,
Boy, what's going on, dog?
I tell you we shouldn't park here now. This way park here,
I tell you we shouldn't park here.
You get one of these things. My bad big bro, and he got a sticker inside this. This mud though, we gotta move. This is a handicap spot.
Let's go, we gotta move.
But we gotta move. We can move right now. Sorry.
Be considerate. Don't use disabled parking spaces without a decal in your vehicle. This message is brought to you by the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities.
Everyone, if you're just joining us, my guest tonight is President Denise Knowles, and Denise serves as president of SHRM Bahamas, and she also serves as the senior manager of human capital at PwC. Denise and I are going to run it all the way down tonight as we ask, will the real HR please stand up? Denise, welcome to the show. Before we touch a single headline though, Denise, how do you feel right now? What's going on?
I feel good. I do feel good. And thank you so much, Ahmad, for having me this evening.
Indeed.
It has been very challenging, you know, since I took the role on a few months ago. And the energy is great, and I feel really good about the cause. I really feel good about the purpose of what I'm expected to do as president of SHRM Bahamas, and even though it's challenging, it's quite rewarding, and I really do appreciate the role.
So before we go any further, Denise, tell us how you got into HR. Was this something you wanted to do all your life? Was it something you kind of fell into? Was it always something you had on your vision board to become? How did your journey to HR even begin, and how did it lead to where you are now?
Interestingly enough, Ahmad, I do recall getting into the profession, and I think I may have been in my early 20s getting into the profession, and it was something that I would say that I stumbled upon. Mm-hmm. The opportunity presented itself, and I did not turn it down. Okay. And it may have been a little over 2 decades ago. And I've been in the profession, and HR is the only profession that I know. Wow. It's very, very engaging, and I absolutely love what I do. Mm-hmm. From a very early age, I always was fascinated by people and really just trying to bring out the best in people and mentoring folks at a very early age. I started out working from I was 14 years old. Wow. So it's been an interesting journey, but absolutely one that I can tell you that has been quite rewarding for me.
Indeed. When you think of the strides you've made in your own career, mm-hmm. parallel that to where HR is right now in the Bahamas, as we get ready to answer this question, where do you see some similarities but also some differences? How is the industry shaping as your own career has evolved over time?
It has changed dramatically. When I first got into the profession, a lot of the things that I was doing, and I was an HR department of one, working within the financial services field, and a lot of the things that I was doing, was quite basic HR, payroll administration, the administrative task, hiring employees, terminating employees, really not getting into the greens and the I guess the strategic element of HR, that was something that I did not know, and that was something that I didn't do. And when I think about it, fast forward 20 years later, it has changed significantly because at the end of the day, and you said it best, when we attended the conference in Orlando, when he had indicated that 10%,
Denise,
of CEOs love HR, which is a very small margin, right? 60% of those CEOs that were surveyed, they tolerate HR, which is, when I heard that statistic, it was very, very shocking, and it was alarming for me. And then you only had 30% of those CEOs that saw very little value within the profession. So what that told me was that we have a lot of work to do, and initially it was a shell shock, but I left very encouraged because I do recognize that we still have a lot of work to do within the profession. And many of us that were in that room, and even HR professionals around the world, we are committed to the cause because this is our career, not just a profession, but this is our career, and this is what we love doing. So we are willing to take the challenge on. We are willing to to face our the various CEOs and the various stakeholders within our organization and really try to determine what is it that we need to do as HR professionals to really move the needle, to become strategic leaders, to become agents of change within our respective industries. So for me, that that is what I see, and I can tell you that the profession has changed significantly. When I think about pre and post COVID, and even the evolution of HR, the profession is one where it has transformed significantly, and we as HR professionals, we have to move the needle. We're no longer administrators, so to speak. Paper pushers. We're no longer pushing the paper, but we are actually in the rooms with the CEOs trying to bring about business change. And it's really up to us as HR professionals to demonstrate our value within our organization.
Absolutely. Now, Denise, you mentioned the feeling of having those words spoken to you and landing in your chest.
Yes.
Right? That 10%, that 60%, that 30%. But you also referenced just now that HR professionals today are being called to be agents of change.
Absolutely.
They're supposed to be the cause for change in your organizations. When you look at that split that I referenced at the beginning of the show, where, issues regarding employee relations are now going to legal, and IT is getting the onboarding component, and L&D is being outsourced. How is HR as an industry, but also HR professionals looking to bring that back home and understand when there is a need to outsource and when there is a need to really understand what's going on in the industry and in the organization for us to really serve it better?
When Johnny made that comment, the way I took it was HR is a profession that is transforming, right? Some of the things that we once did, the reality is it probably needs to be outsourced, right? When you think about talent, when you think about maybe payroll or even benefits. If it is that, some companies, they make the decision to outsource the various tasks within the profession, that's a decision that they would have made. What that told me was, okay, how do I, as an HR professional, rebrand myself? How do I make changes in the things that I do so that I can bring or I can add greater value to my organization? It's absolutely fine if a company decides that, okay, from a legal perspective, I want to outsource, this particular area. But at the end of the day, from an HR perspective, how am I rebranding and how am I creating greater value within my organization? That frees me up, and it allows me to, ensure that I'm creating and I'm building out the people within my organization, because we talk about AI, right? We talk about so many different changes, that's happening within our world, and the world of work is changing.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, yes, we have AI, and yes, we have so many different changes, but there are certain things that cannot be changed. The people element, and that is, in my opinion, that is where HR comes in. That is where we step in as HR professionals. How do we develop the people? How do we ensure that our people within our organizations, they are bringing their true selves and they are being creative within the organization? How do we develop leaders within the organization? And those are the things that HR professionals, to me, should be doing and should be thinking about in reshaping the profession, so that we can become strategic partners with the business, as opposed to fighting against our leaders, or even thinking or even trying to hoard the tasks that we feel needs to be.
Come on, that's a good point you raised, Denise. Some leaders, whether in HR or otherwise, are afraid to embrace technology and advancements in technology because they want to be the one that gets to write the check every week. They want to be the only one that can open the drawer and find the crackers for the giveaway. If you are going to rebrand yourself, it also means retooling yourself, helping yourself to understand where is there a gap in my organization or in my industry, and where am I positioning myself to fill that gap. Now, those changes you referenced that Johnny talked about on the stage, and we're feeling them globally but also locally. What do you think is happening for the local workforce in the Bahamas? What do these changes mean for the local workforce here in the country?
In terms of the changes, I do believe that the changes, it's one and the same. What is happening internationally is what we need to be focused on from a local perspective. In that we as HR professionals and we as business leaders, not only HR professionals, let me reel it in. We as business leaders, because if you are working with people, it impacts you.
Absolutely.
So I do not just want to single it out to HR professionals. Business leaders, strategic leaders, operational supervisors, as well as managers. Those are the things that we ought to be thinking about. What is it that we can do as strategic partners within an organization to ensure that we are creating effective leaders within the business? Those are the things that we have to focus on. Those are the things that we have to hone in on, so that we can ensure that our organizations thrive.
What do you think, Denise, is the real state of the talent landscape in our country? We have often, as HR professionals in our own environments, our own organizations, have to outsource talent from outside of our country, right? Are we in a position as a nation, do you think, as we celebrate 53 years in a couple of days, are we in a position to attract Bahamian talent back home, one? Are we in a position to keep Bahamian talent in the soil? And then three, are we doing the work required to really develop Bahamian talent to compete on a global stage? What are your thoughts on that?
I do believe we are. There is this notion called brain drain, right? And that is real, because we see it we see it often, and especially in the field that I'm in within financial services, where we're training the talent, and at the end of the day, they are going elsewhere, and sometimes they stay within the Bahamas, and sometimes they relocate, right? Our reality is what we as strategic leaders and individuals, what is important and what we need to focus on is how do we retain those individuals? Do we have the capability, do we have the ability to keep them? I do believe so, but we need to be creative. Oftentimes, our employees, they do not leave organizations.
Come on.
They leave managers, right?
Like that.
They leave companies that they feel that they don't trust. So what are we doing to ensure that we are creating the right environment for our employees? Are we ensuring that we have the proper training, the proper growth opportunities available for our employees? Are we ensuring that we are creating the right pipeline? We often talk about succession planning. Are they aware that, okay, 5 years from now, this is my career, trajectory. Are we doing that as leaders to ensure that these persons are well aware and they are equipped to take on leadership roles, within the next 5, within the next 10, or even within the next 15 years?
Yes.
Do we have the ability to do it? Of course we do. Are we willing to do it? I do believe that we do, because we have, the Bahamas, we have so many creative leaders, so many creative employees. They're educated because they're educating themselves, they're upskilling themselves, they're reskilling themselves. We do have the ability to do it, and we need to ensure, not just HR professionals. I'm not speaking to just HR professionals. I'm speaking to business leaders, and I'm speaking to executives. I'm speaking to everyone that really touches employees within our country. We have to do what we need to do to ensure that we keep the talent within our country, because we have lots of work to do.
Absolutely, lots of work. Now, Denise, that startling statistic that Johnny shared and that which we've been discussing so far tonight, do you believe, this is a hard question for you now, Denise, because this is our industry, and we fight for this industry, but do you believe in some ways HR brought this on itself?
Absolutely.
Talk about that for a minute.
Absolutely, because oftentimes I think we undersell ourselves and the value in which we bring to our organization. One of the things that you had mentioned was what Oprah said.
Yes.
Oprah indicated that we are, remind me of it.
She mentioned that we are the ones that are supposed to manufacture, essentially, like produce this human potential.
Human potential.
It. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oprah mentioned that. And I don't think many HR professionals realize that, because we are the ones who ought to be nurturing. We are the ones who ought to be leading the cause and ensuring that our organizations are creating the right landscape, the right training opportunities for our employees. So, in my opinion, sometimes oftentimes I should say, we became, administrative experts in that, we became masters of pushing papers, as opposed to making sure that our voices are heard, as opposed to ensuring that, when there is a meeting or whatever have you that impacts our employees, we are in the room, because we are the ones that's really touching the people. We are the ones that's really, we should be the ones, I should say, that ensures that anything that is impacting our people, we have a say. Not just the CEO, not just the CFO, but it is the HR professionals. And I can tell you, right back to one of your early comments, I've seen the shift, and that's a positive shift. That's a shift in the right direction. And many of our business leaders, they recognize the importance of HR being in the room, because at the end of the day, we are, as Oprah would have mentioned, we are masters of human potential. I don't know if that's exactly what she said.
That's the spirit of it.
Exactly, that's the spirit of it. So we are the ones that need to ensure that anything that impacts our people, we are at the forefront.
Absolutely. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you can see that this conversation that is going to be incredibly impactful to you. I encourage you to stay close, because we're going to get deeper into this question tonight. Will the real HR please stand up? We ain't touching the surface. We ain't coochie cootiness. We're going to have a real dialogue about where it is that HR needs to present and stand up. When we come back, we're going to go in further in this dialogue tonight, so please stay close. Your breakthrough continues right after this break.
Did you know that if a fire starts in your home, you may have as little as 2 minutes to escape? Keep your family and home safe with these few fire safety preparation and prevention tips. Ensure that your home has working smoke detectors. They will alert you if there is smoke and fire in your home. Install a smoke detector on every level of your home, inside each bedroom and outside each sleeping area. Test smoke detectors every month and change the batteries every 6 months. Home fires can spread rapidly, and every second counts. Create an escape plan and practice it with everyone in your home. Make sure everyone can safely escape in less than 2 minutes. Keep escape routes as clutter-free as possible, so no one trips or falls on the way out during an emergency. In addition to smoke detectors, fire extinguishers is an important device to have on hand. To use a fire extinguisher, remember the acronym PASS. Pull the pin, aim the nozzle, squeeze the handle, and sweep from side to side at the base of the fire. We must all do our parts to ensure that our families and homes are safe in the event a fire occurs. On behalf of the Commissioner of Police, the Director of Fire Services, and all officers of the fire department, let's work together to help prevent fires, because fire safety is everyone's responsibility, and the life you save may be your own.
Let's go! At Frame Studio, as soon as you enter the door, we showcase any individual that comes in there and make it feel like they are at home. The space itself is 1,800 square foot. Our site wall, which is industry standard also, is 24 feet wide. You can do anything that you can possibly think of. At Frame Studio, under our theme now, Create More, we look at Frame Studio as a canvas. And any artist knows a canvas is blank, and then you create whatever you want to do, right? So we have where you could rent tools. We even have workstations that people could rent out. To anyone inspiring to do what I've done, or what my colleagues have done, or any other journey, I would say to you, don't be afraid. The worst someone can actually tell you is no. So if you have a vision, you have an idea, not everyone will get it. But if you believe in your vision, you believe in your idea, I say go wholeheartedly at it.
For more information about the Creative Entrepreneurs Initiative and the Crafting the Bahamas workshops, email info@sbdcbahamas.com or call us at 461-7232.
If you're just joining us, you picked the perfect moment because we just laid out the threat hanging over the entire HR profession. And now we get up to the heart of the matter. I'm running it down tonight with Denise Knowles, who is a human capital leader at PwC Bahamas and the president of SHRM Bahamas. And we are about to talk about what it really means to be called Masters of Human Potential. Let's run it down, shall we, Denise? So,
absolutely.
We heard the warning, but that same week that Johnny stood on that stage and he said all these things about the 30%, the 10%, the 60%. But Oprah also said and challenged that we are all masters of human potential, right? She didn't stop there. She said that you're not in the business of spreadsheets. You're in the business of human potential, Denise. In plain terms, for the person watching, what does that actually look like on a regular Tuesday morning in a real-life office, Denise, when your CEO may be pushing you to push that paper, when your CFO may be getting down on you for being so people-y and so feely in the meetings, when that operations leader is telling you they're tired of all these no-good employees. How do they actually become the managers of, the stewards of that human capital, Denise?
Absolutely. What are some of the things that I do on a regular basis, right, to develop my people? And that is what it all entails, developing our people. And that may mean having a conversation with an employee about their career development. That may mean if you notice an employee, you know, they may have been bubbly before, but you know, you recognize some behavioral issues, having a real discussion with an employee to find out what is actually going on. Developing an employee, or even ensuring that you know, we are masters of human potential, that may also mean coaching someone along the way who is seeking promotion to the next level, right? Developing an individual, that may also mean really coaching that individual along the way, or, you know, being a mentor for that individual, right? Those are the things that really enables HR professionals and even managers to not only manage their people, but really be leaders within the organization. And those are the things that we can do on a daily basis. Really, you know, pushing the paper aside. Because yes, there are so many things to do. There's so many policies that we as HR professionals, we can develop. There are so many, you know, early in my career, one of the things that I was faced with was being called a compliance officer. And I really had to take a step back because at the end of the day, behind the policies and behind all of those, you know, compliance aspect of the job, there's still a human. And those are the things that I had to really pull back on and really determine, how do I develop my people? How do I ensure that there are growth opportunities within the organization? And it could be another element. It could be, you know, hosting a developmental program for emerging leaders within your organization. Those are the things that we as HR professionals ought to do to develop and to master human potential. Because yes, AI is here, and there are so many things and so many changes within the world of work. But at the end of the day, and Simon Sinek, one of the things,
excuse me,
he was one of the guests, and he took the stage, and he said it very, very clear. He said that, yes, AI is here, but if I have an employee who was just served a very discouraging news, somebody who was just diagnosed with cancer, that is something that an AI machine cannot do. You need HR to step in. And those are the things that we as HR professionals need to be mindful of, because AI cannot replace the human element. AI cannot replace emotional intelligence. Making sure, even self-awareness, AI cannot replace them. It's the HR element. So those are the things that we need to be mindful of when we think about mastering human potential. And that's the thing, those are the things that I hold very near and dear to me, because at the end of the day, there are still, yes, you want the work to get done, and productivity is important.
Absolutely.
It is vitally important within our organizations. But if we have persons within our organization, if they're not performing, if they are unable to perform at 100% for whatever reason, we as HR professionals, we should be able to diagnose that, hey, guess what? Something is going on within something isn't right here. So let me have a conversation with my employee to find out exactly what it is that's going on. And something like that demonstrates care. And when someone knows and they recognize that you care as an employee, you could get them to do anything about it.
Anything. Now, I know, Denise, some people right now listening to us, they're saying, Miss, you don't know what I got to go through with this man and this job and and all these things. We're going to talk about something very specific that you can do this weekend and later on in the show. But Denise, at that same conference, and the conference we're referencing, y'all, is the Global SHRM Conference. It happens once every year, and it gathers 20,000 or more HR professionals from around the globe to discuss the challenges that we're facing in HR, but also to discuss the strategies that we can employ to overcome those challenges. And one of the speakers there was Ram Charan. And Ram Charan says that every person is born with a gift. And leadership's job is to find the work where that gift shows up. Honestly, how does anyone right now, Denise, do that? How do I create work for Denise's gift to shine through in a world where AI is changing everything, the demands are as tall as they could ever be, it's dead hot outside, things are knocking up, the light bill dead high. How you want me to find the work that gives your gift the room to shine and to thrive? How am I supposed to do that as the leader in general, Denise?
Understanding your people. Once you understand your people and you understand what makes them thrive, you can develop a leader within an individual. If you do not know an individual, you don't know the capabilities that exist within them. So the first thing that you ought to do as a leader is to know your people. Recognize, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, because, as leaders, we all, well, as people, I should say, we all have strengths and we all have weaknesses. One like me, I know what my strength is and I know what my weakness is, and I shy away from my weakness because I don't like it. Not that, I cannot do it. It's just that's something that, I struggle with, and I particularly don't like. But as HR professionals, it is important for us to understand our people. Once we understand our people, making sure that the right avenues and the right things are in place to develop, the weaknesses within our people. And once we do that, then I feel that we would be able to develop, very successful individuals and ensure that the productivity within our organization is optimized.
Now, Denise, somebody's tugging on my spirit on the show tonight, and I feel they let me to ask you, when they read a job description, it never did say nothing about understand your people. It wasn't there, Denise. It wasn't there. It didn't say get to know your staff, understand your people, find out. It ain't talk that. Why is that important if I want to be a leader of any level of impact and positive impact in an organization today. You referenced it just now, but go a little bit deeper for the person who may be challenged and thinking, miss, you too people-y, you too feely, I got time for that, they don't pay me for all of that. What is the detriment in that person living in that mindset versus realizing that there is value in getting to know and building a relationship with those people they get to lead day in and day out?
You have to build relationships. You have to build relationships within your organization. And in building relationships, no, you're not carrying these folks home. We're not asking them, you know, we're not asking you to be chummy and buddy, you know, with these individuals. But at the end of the day, people have to recognize and they have to know that you care. And once people recognize and they know that you genuinely care about them, then you can get them to do anything. I would have said before, oftentimes persons, they leave managers. They do not believe companies. So if you as a manager, if you're managing your people and you are ensuring that you understand your employees, you can get your employees to do anything. And at the end of the day, if you can get your employees to do anything, that's impacting what? The company's bottom line. That's making you shine as a manager. That's demonstrating that, hey, me as an individual, I am doing what I ought to do as a leader to bring out the best in my employees. So I would definitely say building those positive relationships, making sure that you create avenues for your people to thrive, and making sure that, you know, once those avenues are in place, you are developing positive maps for them to, you know, for them to thrive within their organizations.
Indeed. Now, Denise, as we talked about throughout several times throughout the show so far, AI is here. It's not going anywhere. We have to embrace this, or wish we did. Is this a time in our history, Denise, where AI is a stark competitor to HI, human intelligence? Or is this the perfect time to marry the two? What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, you have to marry the two. I remember attending a session, it could have been a conference several years ago, and one of the topics was, and actually one of the comments that was made was, will my job become redundant because of AI? And, you know, I thought about that discussion, and even several years later, I'm still thinking about that discussion. But what we need to be mindful of, and we need to embrace artificial intelligence. I'll tell you a story.
Please.
I'll tell you a story. Last week, I was, this is our performance year-end process, and I had a major report to do for my leaders, and I left the room. I think they had to go in meetings, and I left the room, and I think I had an hour to come back to them. And I thought about it. I sat down to my desk, and I'm like, how am I supposed to get this report to them within an hour's time? And somebody introduced me to Claude. Ahmad.
Come on.
Listen, from then to now, that's Claude has become my best friend. And guess what? I embrace that because
100%.
Guess what? That created great efficiency. I was not threatened by it because I am who I am, and as an individual, they still, you know, as an individual, I know my worth and I know my value. But at the end of the day, the efficiency went to the roof. And because efficiency went to the roof, I demonstrated that, guess what, I'm a value add to you because I have married the two. The human aspect as well as AI. So I would definitely encourage persons to ensure that you grab hold of AI because it is a benefit to you. It allows you to become more efficient. In whatever area that you're that you're in. So I would definitely encourage you to marry the two. What I would also say is make sure that you're upskilling yourself, right? Upskilling yourself, not thinking about AI as a threat, because it's not a threat. It is here to help us to become greater in terms of our efficiency level. So once we recognize that, it would definitely be an opportunity for you to become more productive in whatever it is that you do, and then you have an opportunity to focus your energies elsewhere
on the things that actually matter.
The things that actually matter. Yes.
Could you imagine spending that hour or more, missing the deadline, showing up in that room flustered and unable to think clearly, all sweaty, all the things, and still unprepared for that return back to that room?
Absolutely.
Versus utilizing a platform that is able to do this work in 50 million times faster than you. And accurate, right? And even where there is inaccuracy, you know what the data is supposed to say.
Absolutely.
So you still got to take that data up, go to that room and present it as Denise, not as Claude, right? And I think this whole thing about fear of AI and all of these platforms, people only fail, but they misunderstand. And you have the right to misunderstand something today. But if you choose to be misunderstanding that same thing tomorrow, that's an active choice. And your job will not be replaced by AI, but people who are masters of AI and masters of human intelligence are going to replace you. And that's a big difference. Denise is telling us today, as a senior executive in human resources for one of the most, I guess, global companies you could think of. She's actively engaging the people side of her with the intelligence side of her, the AI intelligence side of her, and merging the two, bringing forth results that are valued-driven, that are people-focused, and that are still going to meet the needs of a demanding executive team, because they everywhere you go. AI are not, they still around. So why not be prepared to meet them where they are, and in fact show them, hold on, I got something for you.
I got something for you.
Did you recognize that we now have...
all kind of statistics.
All
kind of statistics I was able to provide.
Where did these get this from? And now you're adding so much more intrinsic value that they could not see beyond your ability to just show up and be people-y, right? Now, Denise, as we round this conversation off with the AI and the HI, right? If it is that our job is to manage, to steward, to be masters of that human potential, right? Why is the world so bad at seeing that in us? When we demonstrate that people side of the business, we're thought to be too people-y, too emotional, too all the feelings versus business-minded. Why is it so hard to get HR to be seen as strategic people partners in business?
I do believe that we are the cause of that because we have not in the past really demonstrated that, okay, this is the value that we can bring to our organization, right? And I think once we get past that, we are able, and we demonstrate and we ensure that our leaders are aware, okay, that this is the value that we can bring to the organization. We can be productive. I think it's at that point, it's at that juncture that we would be able to step away from, I guess, the myth of not being valued. And then our leaders would be able to see the value in us. So we're the cause of it. I can tell you a part cause of it. But now that we recognize that, okay, you know, we need to ensure that we are demonstrating our value, now is the time for us to actually do that.
Got it. If you could describe your journey in HR so far, Denise, in one word, what one word would you use?
Transformation.
Transformational. For you or for the industry itself? How would you break it down?
For the industry, very transformational because, like I said, as I started out in my career, it was, you know, a lot of administrative tasks. And I've seen, you know, that dynamic change significantly in terms of, you know, what the business is expecting from me. The reality is, because of where I sit, they expect, you know, high productivity. So they expect us to embrace AI, right? They expect us to use the tools that they've provided.
Come on.
And I would definitely encourage HR professionals and business leaders to use the tools that's afforded to you so that you can focus on other things within the profession. So I like I said, transformative. In a very, very positive way.
The transformation is going to continue, ladies and gentlemen. This conversation, as you can see, is so good. We've named the threat, we've named the truth, and when we come back, we're going to get practical. How do you actually stand up in an environment where you've not been encouraged to stand up? Take back its seat and become impossible to replace. And what does all of that mean for us here in the Bahamas specifically? So stay with us. There's more breakthrough after this break. Stay close.
So how's your preparation going? By now, you should be completing home repairs since the last storm, updating and replenishing your emergency kit, and paying closer attention to the ZNS networks for earlier than normal developments in the tropics and general storm tracking. Hurricanes don't wait. Why should you? This season, be weather smart, weather safe.
Behind every strong economy is a bold entrepreneur, and we're here to support them, island by island. On Eleuthero, we've helped 122 entrepreneurs turn their dreams into thriving businesses. Through over $3 million in approved funding, the SPDC is strengthening Eleuthero's economy by investing in its leading sectors: tourism, food and beverage, and agriculture. No matter the island, every business we support strengthens the economy, starting with yours. SPDC, Bahamas.
I don't know, but there's all kind of cars in the parking lot. You ain't even know where to park. Yeah, that's no parking. Look at this way. Like, he ain't got nowhere to go. Don't park him. That's no parking.
Don't park over here. That's how they got.
No, you can't park on the gas spot.
I ain't gonna be that long. I ain't gonna be that long.
On the gas spot,
Boy, what's going on, dog?
I tell you we shouldn't park here now. This way parking, bro.
I tell you we shouldn't park here. Don't get one of these things.
My bad, big bro. And he got a sticker inside to say this mod, though. We gotta move. This is a honey gas spot.
That's what we gotta move.
But we gotta move. Don't. We can move right now. Sorry.
Be considerate. Don't use disabled parking spaces without a decal in your vehicle. This message is brought to you by the National Commission for Persons with Disabilities.
Everyone, if you're just joining us, you dead late. Remember, you've been all evening. You've been having a good conversation, but you're not too late because here's where the rubber meets the road. Denise Knowles and I are still here, and we're running it down, answering the question the show is built on tonight. Will the real HR please stand up? So, Denise, let's get very practical for a moment. We've been talking about all the things that are in our way, all the things that HR should be doing on a day-to-day basis to develop talent, to strengthen talent, so on and so forth. But there are some people, Denise, who are fighting battles that feel unwinnable. They are living in boardrooms where their leaders don't see them as valuable. They are on floors where staff don't respect them in some cases. They have been conditioned to believe that their power is in the policy, not in the potential building of their people. How do you actually stand up in an environment where you're not being encouraged to stand up, Denise? How does the person who's doing HR right now, whether they work at a big-time firm like yours or they work for a small-time company where they're the HR department of one, what do they actually do tomorrow morning when they get to work?
That's an interesting question. I do believe that as employees and even HR professionals, it is important to ensure that persons realize their value. Making sure that you upskill yourself, because you may be in a position where that may not be the right fit for you. Yeah. That's just the reality. Making sure that you're upskilling yourself, right? I think that is very important. So ensuring that you are creating the right opportunity for yourself. So becoming a lot more maybe curious within your organization, upskilling yourself, making sure that you are demonstrating that you have the potential to perform within that role. And sometimes it is discouraging. It is discouraging on the job, but finding that fortitude within yourself to upskill yourself, being very creative on the job, ensuring that you develop the tools that you need to suit that job, or even to suit another job if the role that you're currently in is not the right job for you. If the company that you're not a part of does not fit and does not align with your goals and your values. So really thinking about it, having that honest, that honest discussion with you. I don't know if discussion is the right word, but really having that honest come to Jesus moment with yourself to determine, okay, what is it that I need to do, to ensure that I'm, being my true self and bringing my authentic self to the organization. So really as an individual, upskilling yourself. That would be the start.
I'm going to say, Denise, to really take personal responsibility for where you are and where you believe you want to go, right? While you should be working for an organization that sees your value, wants to add to that value, you still have responsibility for who you are, where you are, and where you plan to be as time goes on. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
Yes.
Now, let's bring it home for a moment, Denise. You are the president of SHRM Bahamas. What is the specific opportunity and the specific risk for HR professionals right here in the Bahamas at this exact moment? What are we looking forward to most, and what are we challenged by most right now in the Bahamas as HR professionals and leaders in our country?
As HR professionals, some of the challenges that we faced is just making sure that we are valuable assets within the organization. What are some of the things that we ought to be doing as HR professionals? Making sure that we create leaders, making sure that we demonstrate that we have the emotional intelligence to function the way that we ought to function within the organization. Developing a strong talent pool, making sure that, you know, from a retention perspective, what are the I guess the initiatives that we're implementing to ensure that they are, you know, that we retain top talent and good talent within our organization, developing the people within our organization. Those are the things that we as HR professionals need to be doing. In terms of the risk, those are things that we risk because at the end of the day, the things that we know that we ought to be doing, does the company leaders, are they aligned, and do they see our vision?
Come on.
That's very important. They may not see our vision, and they may not recognize that, hey, guess what, those are the things that we ought to be doing as HR professional. So really having a conversation with our leaders, making sure that their values or the company's values marry with our value.
Indeed.
And once we recognize that, then we can thrive as HR professionals. And if it's not aligned, then that's obviously a different, you know, a different conversation. In terms of the strengths, the good thing about it is, as I would have mentioned earlier, a lot of our companies within our country, they recognize the value that we bring. So we are more in the boardrooms. We are, you know, having the discussions with our leaders to ensure that, okay, you know, whatever decisions impact the business and impact our people, we have a say.
Absolutely.
So that is absolutely very important, and I am seeing that a lot, which is obviously a step in the right direction for us. So those are the things that's very, very positive, and those are our strengths. So really ensuring that we are, I guess, pushing our leaders to recognize our value, because oftentimes, as I would have mentioned, sometimes we ourselves were the ones that was really diminishing our value.
Come on.
And now we need to recognize, and we need to ensure that our leaders recognize our value, and we need to demonstrate it on a day-to-day basis.
Yes. Now, Denise, for the person watching right now who is fired up, excited to go to work in the morning, but they still have no idea where they should be starting, what is the one move they should make this week, tomorrow morning, that could really start to be, that they can become the talent that the world and their organization cannot ignore? What do you think is the one thing they should be doing as of tomorrow morning to be recognized as the value you're talking about?
I think, that's a very good question.
Thank you.
A very, very good question. And it ties right back to what I said in terms of, I think that they should revolutionize themselves. And in revolutionizing themselves, I think that they need to recognize that, hey, guess what? You know, this may be something that I'm challenged with, but what can I do better as an individual?
Yes.
And in doing better, what are some of the things that I can do differently within my organization, you know, to ensure that I create the value and I'm seen as a trusted leader and a trusted advisor. Yes. So in my opinion, revolutionizing yourself. And as I said, you know, before, making sure that you upskill yourself. Always, I always encourage persons to be a lifelong learner. So whatever it is that you're doing, be a lifelong learner. Try to learn a new skill each and every day. And those skills, nobody can take that away from you.
Absolutely. Once you learn that, you got that.
You got that.
Indeed.
Nobody can take that away from you. So really revolutionizing the way in which you think, your thought process, your thought patterns, and once you do that, you will become unstoppable as an individual.
Got it. So, Denise, I believe that there's something coming up this weekend that needs to get some spotlight right now.
Absolutely.
Your SHRM Bahamas chapter is putting on an incredible event on Saturday, July 5th. Please tell our audience a bit more about that event and what they can expect to learn or experience at that event, and why it's timely for it happening right now.
So, SHRM Bahamas, earlier this year, we would have adopted the theme Synergy 2026. And that theme was birthed during our leadership strategy session where, you know, we talked about all of the things that we want to do. We talked about and we had a vision board. And one of the things that we really focused on was how can we work with entities, how can we work with organizations? Because yes, you know, Sharing Bahamas, we have a platform, we have a voice in our community, but in terms of bringing about change, sometimes we need to collaborate. Sometimes there has to be synergy, you know, within you know, two separate entities. So this weekend we have decided to partner with Blue Chip Consultancy Limited, and we are hosting an employment law workshop on wrongful and unfair dismissal.
Wow.
And I can tell you we have a dynamic lineup of, we have a legal advocate, we have a legal attorney, as well as a justice within the Supreme Court. And they are coming to share, you know, some best practices. They're coming to share case studies with the audience. And I can tell you that, you know, I looked at the registration numbers before I came on this show, and the numbers are growing.
Excellent.
Because persons are very, very interested in it. It's a topic that impacts us all. Because, you know, oftentimes companies and HR professionals, we do not want to do bad. We do not want to do wrong.
Yes.
But sometimes we find ourselves on the wrong side in hot water. So we have, we've created a lineup of professionals, and they're coming to speak to our communities or persons that would have registered on unfair and wrongful dismissal. So that's what we have, you know, going on this weekend, and I would encourage persons to take advantage of it. The registration is still open, about to close because, you know, we are reaching our max, but I would definitely encourage persons to register because that promises to be one that is very insightful.
Indeed.
And very informative.
Ladies and gentlemen, Denise, thank you so much for being with me tonight. I believe we're going to have you to come back with your panelists. Maybe they even talk about more of that unfair dismissal conversation. Because as you can tell, HR is a multifaceted industry. And as we discussed tonight, will the real HR please stand up? Here's where I land. I think CEOs who think they could live without HR and the ICON who call us the masters of human potential, they are both telling the truth. And that is the whole point of tonight's show, because the HR that's being dismantled, the paperwork, the department, the police policy, all of these people are the ones that have to hold this together no matter what. The world really can automate all of it. It really can hand that to finance and IT and legal and all of that stuff. But if we don't stand up, we don't demonstrate our value and show who we are to the professionals in the world, we will be left behind. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Denise. It's been a pleasure having this conversation with you. I look forward to having you back. I encourage you to stay tuned to the ZNS Network, where we will have our 11 o'clock newscast tonight with the last thing